Welcome to the New World Comics Podcast, the second podcast.
Yes, and the best podcast. Maybe.
We hope. Hopefully, there's no after the first one lull where we were so good for one and then we sucked the next one.
You shouldn't have asked me on the second one.
Well, I guess we should move right in. Yeah, we have Mark Maron with us. He's
Yes.
We decided to upgrade. So
Let me drag this down by talking about my short-lived relationships.
yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He is Mark Maron.
Yeah.
Star of Glow. And
Yeah.
he has a great podcast. Actually, you do have a great podcast, too.
So for those that don't know, this is AD.
Yes.
Austin Delano.
Yep.
Yep. That's his legal name.
It's definitely my legal name.
Yeah. This is AD. He helps with all the technical issues because anyone that knows me knows that I don't know technology at all.
Oh, so he's the guy I need to get with.
Yeah, like every time.
Why am I calling you?
I don't know. I barely know how to work the computer. Like
I know you barely know how to work the computer.
I figured out how plugs worked the other day, just right in the wall. There you go.
That's awesome. Buck Berlin, by the way, owner of
Hi.
New World Comics. I'm Brad Reed. Welcome to the podcast. I need all kinds of technical help then. 80's the guy to come to.
Yeah, he has pulled my fat out of the fire so many times. The store computer went kaput 6 months ago?
About then, yeah.
Yeah, and he works in computer-y type stuff, and he was helping me build a computer, and I'm the nice jerk that he was like, hey, what features do you want in your computer? He says, do you want a touchscreen? I said, no, those are dumb. Those are for young kids. And I remember that. So when it came in, the first thing that we did, he was like, hey, I'm going to show you how to set this thing up. So I started touching the screen. And I was like,
No, I want to set the stage here for
Okay.
this. I've got it all set up on the on the table for him. I'm like, here you go. This is your nice new computer.
Right.
Got it rush shipped to him, right? Because the
Right.
store needed it.
Yeah.
And
Good guy.
he just sits there and he goes, where's the touch screen?
knowing full well that I had asked not for it. So,
Right.
And he was just, oh, no. I was like, nah, man, I'm just messing with you.
Man, and there's young people that work here. You think the touchscreen might have been the way to go.
Well, it's the computer for me. So,
Okay. Not the shared computers.
Right.
So when that screen eventually breaks, I can replace it a lot easier.
Yeah.
If it's not a touch screen.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Well, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with, helping out at the shop, AD.
So, I've been coming here.
All four of the Evers.
Yeah, no, it's this was definitely my first comic book shop and pretty much my only comic book shop. I remember the first time I came here was I'd gone to Barnes & Noble and ironically enough I'd been reading Star Wars Tales.
Yeah.
Which I don't even like Star Wars. It's like let's get some real comics. And I came in and I said, "Do you guys have anything that's like Marvel and DC together?"
Yeah, and I was like, sure, yeah, here we do. It's not well written, but here you go.
But
Which was?
it was Marvel versus DC.
Yeah, which
Uh-huh.
where all the fans got to vote who won in the fight. So like, no matter who should have won, the writer was like, they tripped and fell. There you go. They won.
Anything that stood out about that one, though? Was
My
the artwork
favorite-
good, at least?
No. So it's I have a lot of good memories with that book, but I'm a huge Captain America fan. And my favorite part of that book is that for all intents and purposes, Batman and Cap fight to pretty much a standstill. A bunch of water rushes in and knocks out Captain America, but Cap looked cool,
Yeah.
and that's all I really wanted.
What book do you have that really blew you away?
Oh, just in general?
Yeah.
Oh man, so many.
Yeah.
Of the era, there's one that he always brings up called Aztec.
Yep. Grant Morrison, Mark Miller. It's so I love Cap, but Aztec's definitely my favorite superhero. And he's so dumb, but I love him so much. he's like worse Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's this guy that inherits this helmet that when he puts it on, he gets the
memories of all of the people who've worn it before him, and also he can control time. It has a full suit, suit of armor that comes out on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got fly.
Yeah, but he has feather wings that are like, it's so dumb, but it's really good. It the first issue like deals with the death of like the gritty age of comics. Where there's this character named Blood Type, and he owns the city of Vanity, and he just blows people up, and he blows himself up in that issue, and it's just like Aztec is taking the mantle, like, hey, this is a new era of DC, and it's just, I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's one of those that it's really, really fun, but people just didn't give it the time of day.
Yeah.
So,
Buck, what do you remember about like maybe the first time or the first times that you met AD?
I remember that his mom came in and she was kind of apprehensive at first. She says, my son has a learning disability. I said, oh, great.
I do?
Yeah, and it was I have one too. I was a diagnosed ADD kid, took Ritalin, all the stuff. So I knew what to recommend, and we talked like, hey, here's some tips and tricks of getting through the day, doing this stuff. You're
a dyslexic.
Dyslexic. I'm just a standard ADD kid.
Mm-hmm.
Big surprise to everyone that knows me.
You're right.
But I digress. I recommended a few titles to him, and he was just so excited about everything that I recommended to him. And he would come back and just have just the most interesting questions about everything that I recommended. And he just kind of became one of the young Buck fans.
Right. Being dyslexic, did that pose any challenges reading comic books?
Honestly, comics were the only thing I really could read because of the way the font is. And the way it's set up, it's not big blocks of text.
Right.
So I could sit there and the words wouldn't run together. They wouldn't, flip around on me, and I could actually, read. I knew how to read. It was just difficult to read.
Sure.
Paragraphs and things like that. And I was getting this reading experience that all of the people my age were, but through comics rather than, young adult novels and things like that. So, I learned to love to read here.
Right.
This was... this place has always been a safe place for me. It's whenever things are going weird and I just need to, come, decompress.
Yeah.
This is the place I come to do that because I have those memories of.
Right.
This is where I learned to love comics.
Which, Buck, you mentioned that on the first podcast.
Yeah.
This place has almost become like a sanctuary for some people.
Yeah, and I want to keep it that for everyone. It needs to be a place where people can come and relax and
right.
Enjoy the finer things in life, so to speak.
Which, by the way, I should mention for the people that they just came upon this. We are at New World Comics in Oklahoma City, south of 63rd Street on Meridian. So
right.
if you want to come by, that's where you got to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how did having ADD kind of help you relate to that?
To comics or
to AD and the other people that come in the shop,
Well, honestly, it was just kind of one of those where I had to learn that I needed to take extra time reading things, and my reading comprehension skills shot up just because I would take the time to memorize certain keys and facts about things that I read.
Right.
And all of that really helped when reading comics that were in continuity. So, the more that I remembered about, Molten Man, anytime that he showed up in Spider-Man, I was like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about. So I was able to explain to everyone else, hey, this is why comics are really cool. It's because everything kind of melds together. The more you know, the cooler everything seems to be.
Right.
I'm always a big fan of comics that will mention things but not rely entirely on the continuity. Because, every comic could potentially be someone's first comic, so you need to kind of have that happy medium, but yeah.
Well, I mean, AD, the comics had a profound effect on you, I think, because you do all kinds of stuff that center around comic books. As far as your podcast, tell everybody about your podcast and the tables you do.
Yeah. So the podcast I do is called Paneled. I do it with a couple of local comedians. I'm not the host, but I'm what they call their librarian on the show. So I bring them comics, and then we describe them and read them for people who might not be able to see or have issues with reading.
Right.
That way they can still enjoy the comics.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons I got involved in in that project was my experience here. Kind of like learning how to read through comics.
Right.
And it's a really awesome experience. It's called Paneled Podcast, and we actually will be going live on the 28th of July. That'll be our first day.
So you guys on Facebook?
Not yet, but we are on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, great. And where can they find the podcast usually?
It will be on iTunes and SoundCloud, hopefully.
Awesome. And then talk about the tables you do, because you showed me a picture. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I actually had disappeared from the store for a while.
Yeah.
I'd pop in and out, but...
Yeah, you joined this military that I've heard so much about.
Yeah, so I was gone for a little bit, but, couple, I guess about a year ago, I started, I found some of my comics that were damaged, and I was like, you know what, I want to start, I want to do something with these. I don't just want them to go to waste. So I took an old table, and I resurfaced it with the old comic books, made a scene with it that told a story, and I brought it to Buck, and he was like, hey, this isn't garbage.
Right, yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
He came in, and I instantly recognized it. It was like, hey, AD, how you doing, man? Yeah. Because I have one of those memories that, I remember most people, and, if I don't immediately, just give me a minute, I'll do the, oh, hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brought it in. It's spectacular looking.
Yeah.
So I was like, hold on. I have some more damaged comics. Why don't you see what you can do with these?
And so I've just been churning them out ever since. I'll actually, the first con I'll be doing selling them will be New World Comic Con.
Yeah, which is going on July 28th at the Centennial Building at the State Park. We'll all be out there. Of course, I think you'll be out there, Buck, right?
Yeah.
Cleared the day. But yeah, so that'll be cool. Definitely might have to pick me up one of those tables.
Yeah, for sure. I also do commissions. So if you're wanting a Hellboy table or a Catwoman table.
Right.
Only those two, though. Only commission those two.
Now he has a really cool Batman Joker that he's working on, and he does phenomenal work.
So I mean, but like, could somebody bring you a collection that they have that? Hey, I'd like to see this put on the table.
I've done that before, where somebody's like, "Hey, these are some of my damaged comic books. I want to preserve them in some way, and this seems like a way I can display them in my home." Because one of my big things is I don't want to do anything to comics that somebody would still want to collect and read. These are comics that
are water damaged or burned, or I'll buy collections that have just pieces of comics in them. And it's that's such a good panel, that's such a good story, that's it means so much, and he'll give new life to it essentially.
Yeah. You're inspiring me because I'm thinking about your idea, and I'm thinking about this story I read where people are taking like the skin of people's tattoos, and I could make skin tattoo tables. Yeah.
I gotta. I don't do that.
Right.
Mostly comics.
Yeah.
Some Lego magazines. I mean.
Wait, people really do that? That's weird.
I saw
not
something
to judge, but that's weird.
No, I mean Lego magazine makes sense.
No, I'm not saying.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. So tell me, you are involved with Superhero School, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about how that came about.
Honestly, I was coming in showing Buck a new table, and Buck was like, we got to get all these people together for Batman Day. I want all of these Batmen. And and he was like, I can't think of other versions of Batman. Sorry. And I was like, Catman kind of looks like Batman. And he turns to the guy who was like, you want to be Catman? That he was talking to. I was like, I want to be Catman.
Oh wait, you'd be interested in that, because certain personality types and people that I see, I know would lend themselves well to like the Superhero School performance. Some people want to do it, and they're really more in just like, hey, I just really wanted to dress up.
Right.
And, I don't really want to act in front of kids or, do any of that. So if we can find people that, have the acting or more importantly, are comfortable talking in front of people, that's really the big thing.
Yeah.
So I guess this has been a couple years that you've been doing this now?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, he started late last year.
Yeah.
Late last year.
October, I think.
Yeah,
Batman Day was my first.
September, yeah.
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 What has been your favorite character so far?
Oh, so, I told you I love Aztec. There's not a lot of Aztec stuff.
Right.
I own. There have been 2 Aztec action figures created. One of them was a HeroClick. The other one was for the Justice League cartoon. I own the prototype of one of them. So I pretty much own all the Aztec stuff you can own. We were talking about, was it the Christmas one? Or no, it was Justice League Day.
Yeah.
And
I was low on characters. I said, hey, is there anyone in Justice League that you might want to be? Anyone at all? He says, anyone? I said, yeah. Just, I don't know. You seem like an Adam fan, right? He says, can I be Aztec?
well, because he had been joking around about Aztec since I started doing superhero school.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares about Aztec.
Yeah. I care, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So he says, is there any way that I can be Aztec? Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. And he sat there and was like, really? Oh, my gosh.
Well, I knew how difficult that build was going to be, and I was like...
And, I saw it and was like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do to make that. Yeah, that's no problem whatsoever.
Well, being that, did you help with the costumes? I mean, do you help most people with them when they come in?
I end up making most of the costumes.
So what's been the worst?
Oh, the worst costume?
Yeah.
Atom Smasher was thrown together, and it was, there's... I mean, we've had a pretty horrific few costumes.
I don't know. There was my Major Victory. That was
Major Victory wasn't bad. He actually looked pretty cool. But one of our Iceman attempts was pretty awful. Blizzard was pretty bad.
Angleman.
I loved Angleman. I'll fight someone.
Well, and I mean, I don't even mean in result, but just which one gave you the most?
Oh, the
trouble,
most trouble. Oh,
yeah.
That's
Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Cat's out of the bag.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Should we just? Oh, sorry. Cut that. Sorry about that. Disregard.
No, we'll.
Wait. I think I found the one I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Now we'll announce it here. I guess it's better now than ever. For New World Comic Con, we are attempting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh wow!
It is. It has been the most difficult thing that I've attempted. We're not going to have everything that I was trying to get done on them.
What do we need to get? What do we need to do?
Do
we need to get volunteers?
No, just a lot of the things that were supposed to go in and things that I needed help with have kind of fallen through.
Gotcha.
I was trying to get moving mouths and like outer suits and things like that done.
Oh yeah.
So we'll probably just have like mascot head type masks,
right,
where the mouths are open so you can kind of hear people, but. It's not going to be as elaborate as I was attempting, and the turtle shells way harder to make than I thought. Like I can make Groot. Like I make Groot no problem. Like it's one of the easiest ones I can do now. Turtle shells are giving me fits.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hardest costume probably was our first attempt at Iron Man.
Really?
And I learned so much from it. It took us 6 months, and we were so proud of it. And looking at pictures of the first attempt now, it's what were we proud of? What?
Yeah, it's funny. This is different than what you're doing, but even sometimes with like editing, I'll work on something for 20 hours, and then I find a way to do it in like 5 minutes from then on out.
Yeah.
And so I figure, even though these things may be hard the first time, maybe it teaches you something that you can use.
Very
Same
much
thing
so.
when I'm doing my tables is, like I used to not be able to do glossy material, and now it's like, I kind of just want to do the glossy material.
Yeah.
Now, it's a little harder, but it turns out so much better.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, and that's the art that comes into it is you'll find something and in doing something difficult you'll find a little trick that you can then take and reuse in all of your other stuff. Like the first group mask that I made, I was just so proud of it because I first learned how to use my Dremel, and I did a new heat molding technique, and ever since it's just been a standard. Like, okay, well let's slap that down, let's Dremel that down, let's figure out what I'm sculpting, how I'm heat molding, and stuff from there. Man, there's so many costumes that have given me fits, and I just haven't been happy with. One of the one costume that I kept failing at time after time after time was Kid Flash, and then finally I made one and it looked great.
Right.
Yeah. I will say there's some costume components that are a nightmare to find because I don't sew. I would like to. There are people that have offered to teach me, and we'll start, and then it'll all just kind of fall apart. And I'm so busy that I should set time aside to teach myself, but
for instance,
we have to rely on finding stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, like for his Catman suit, finding matching yellow,
it's impossible.
Right.
There are no matching yellow pants to yellow shirts. It's like this is a mustard yellow top and a
canary
cyan
yellow,
canary yellow top bottom, and it's like just different enough to be like, this is awful.
Yeah, and I realize that our suits aren't like Hollywood level, but you want a certain level of quality.
Yeah, they look great. I personally haven't seen any that I didn't think didn't look great. They're all pretty awesome. So I know you're doing it, so you have a different eye for it.
Yeah.
And so you'll notice something that maybe other people wouldn't, but I think they all are amazing.
And there's a little thing that we do amongst ourselves as the superhero school crowd, just because it kind of grows into a family. At the end of the year, we do what we affectionately refer to as the Amazos, based on the DC character that can mimic everyone's powers and do that kind of thing. It's a little award show that we do just kind of for us. And everyone gets to vote on, like, hey, what's the best costume? What's the best performance? And the one that everyone is always kind of apprehensive about is worst costume.
Right.
And some people feel bad about it because I end up making most of them. I'm like, no, these awards, none of these awards really matter because, we're all just having fun. Just point out where the worst costume was. Like, what's the, oh, no, y'all really phoned it in. That looks terrible. Don't ever do that again.
Right.
And yeah.
Which one was the last winner?
The last winner.
The last winner or the last loser?
Well, the winner of worst costume.
Was it Angleman?
It may have been Angleman.
I think it was Angleman.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look.
Yeah.
If you're inserting pictures, it'll be right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look how terrible that character is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we'll show the winner of the best. We did best male and female costume, and they are right here, or not.
Yeah. Hopefully.
But yeah, so to go back to it, yeah, there are certain things that are just impossible to find, or if you can find them for costuming, they're just gold. Like red gloves and red boots are just, everyone has them. Everyone in comics has red gloves and boots in their costume. Just
Well,
so I need to start red glove and red boot.
Oh my God!
Manufacturer.
So I'll be honest with you. I was lucky enough to be blessed with smaller feet, so I can wear a lot of women's shoes.
Right.
And you are so your options just open up so much for costume stuff. Whenever you can be like, all right, I want these red pumps.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna take the bottom off, and it's
Yeah, that does bring up a good point. Most of the superhero clothing that we use, women's clothing, because the seams and fit on most of the clothing fit better on men. For superheroes, because the men's sleeve seam is just outside the shoulder, whereas the women's sleeve comes from the neck and goes under the armpit, so it gives a better outline of the body.
Right.
So most of the men's sweatshirts that we use, women's
Makes
clothing.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So yeah, it's you'll come across a lot of really odd things while searching for things. Like there's a place called the Purple Store.
Right.
Everything they sell is purple. They have purple toasters, purple pants, purple shoes, purple
Nice.
socks. Yeah,
I got to go there. Go with my hair color.
Yeah.
It's funny a couple times when I've been going out and getting stuff, people have been like, is this for superhero school? Because we end up using the same places like that karate store.
Oh, yeah. And then there's a dance shop just down the way, and there's something that we make all the men wear called dancers belts, and they make the men
not so men
look like Ken dolls.
Ah, gotcha.
So to speak, because
Gotcha.
you're wearing spandex, and
yeah,
we learned way early on in the worst possible way that this was needed.
Right.
Like, we didn't know that this was a thing, and then someone pulled us aside and said, "Hey, invest in dancers belts for your guys."
I actually wear them every day just to not embarrass people.
You know
what I'm saying? You know.
I think we know. No. But yeah, so I just send them over there and say, hey, just go in there, say, hey, I'm doing this for superhero school, and they're like, all right, well, come on back. Here are the options.
Yep.
So yeah,
Nice.
it's real fun.
So we got a superhero school that actually happens tomorrow. So by the time most people hear this, it'll already be gone.
Yeah, they'll see the pictures for it. Yeah,
the Lady Liberators.
Yeah, and I made 2 of the costumes today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I threw together a Squirrel Girl and I threw together a Captain Marvel today.
Is there going to be any between now and New World Comic Con?
Yeah, the week before will be Teen Titans Young Justice.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
great.
Hopefully I don't have much to make on that, but
I got to ask you guys. You guys are like me in that you like to collect some of the action figures, and I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, just because, do any of you collect any of the pops, or do you collect? What is your collection like?
Hold on. All right, I'm going to introduce you to something called mini mates. All right,
that's what I was going to say. I can only do minis from now on because my pop took over the whole house.
All right, so mini mates are my first love.
Mm-hmm.
They're better Legos.
Right.
They're like posable Legos. They're block figures that have round heads, and they kind of figured out like they're the perfect simplicity that Lego doesn't quite like. They're the detail that Lego didn't have. They took and then like.
Well, that's your comparison between like a Lego figure and a mini mate is. It's going to be more posable, and let's say a Wolverine mini-mate will be specifically from this run in the comics. It's based off of Jim Lee's art. Whenever you get a Lego Wolverine, it's, hey, here's a Lego Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right.
It's...
So you collect a lot of the Legos then? I mean...
Yes, but mostly the mini-mates.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those were initially sold through specialty shops, and that's another thing that got them in.
Yeah.
Was collecting these mini-mates, and I collected. Man, I was so big into action figures and all that early on that my first managerial position here at the shop was being in charge of action figures.
Nice.
Because I knew comics, but I knew action figures just as well.
Right.
So I collected like all the Marvel, all the DC, and like every iteration of. And then these little mini-mate figures came out, and I was like, oh, I can do customization ones because they never make all the characters that I like. I love the B-list, Z-list characters, so I made these things, and he was up here.
I come into the store and I'm like, "That's a cool beast."
Yeah.
What set did that come out in? He's like, "I made it." I'm like, "I can do
that."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So so there was that, and then there's just so much else going on that. When I was single, or when I was not married, I had all this, extra space and money that I could throw at all this. And then it came time to move, and it was oh God, I need to not buy all my stuff,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a problem with, like I say, I have a few action figures, but then when the pops came out, I got big into those, and then those took up everything. So
I get the appeal. I mean, it's kind of like what I loved about Mini-Mates originally. Is it's every character you love, but in like the same scale and similar looking.
Yeah, pop culture kind of thing.
Well,
but probably not as. I know that there are some that are worth a little bit, but I would guess action figures probably have more value.
Yeah, on some of them, but like the appeal with pop, like when you look and see what it is, and then see what all it includes, they're really kind of the perfect gift.
Yeah,
true. So I try not to collect them for the sake of every time that Christmas season comes around or birthday comes
you're
around,
gonna get one.
Everyone does the hey, what do you want?
Yeah,
and I'm like I own most of the things I want. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So when I get inevitably whatever, they're like, here's a thing to get you, because not to sound ungrateful, but it's just I'm unfortunately the guy who has everything. It's the hey, here's a thing, and when I get like a pop, it's the that's really cool. That's something that I wouldn't buy for myself.
Right. So tell me what and it doesn't have to be monetary, but like what's the most valuable? Like it might be valuable to you, maybe more than other people. But what out of your collection, AD?
All right, I got 2.
Okay.
All right, so there's the series called Marvel Legends, and originally done by Toy Biz. Now Hasbro does it. They're, to me, the quintessential 6-inch Marvel action figure. And the first Captain America they did, they had a little stand with him. He was sitting on a tank. It was he had a flag with him. It was a victory pose. The shield had little rubber straps you could put. It was beautiful.
Right.
And to this day, that is my favorite Captain America figure. Because back then it was like, oh man, they made a Captain America figure with more than like 5 points of articulation. But it's that's definitely up there. And then the other one would be my Aztec. My Aztec prototype from Justice League Unlimited. Just because that one, it's a so whenever they're making the toys, they've got prototype sculpts they do. So the one I have is almost like a proof of concept. It's the first time they did it all in plastic instead of like clay or wax. And the colors are all off, but it's marked with a certain number, and this is what they would take around to say, hey, do we want to make this? Do we want to do this? Does it look good? And a buddy of mine got that for me just out of nowhere, didn't even know it existed, and yeah,
that's your prize.
Probably those 2.
What about you, Buck? You got anything you wouldn't ever part with?
Man, that's really hard to say, just because right after I popped the question to the wife, I realized it was time to move.
Right.
And I looked around and saw that most of my figures weren't out on display. Most of them were just packed away in boxes, and I was having them to have them.
Right.
And I realized it was time to get rid of things. So I brought up a lot of stuff, sold it off, and then not too long ago, someone sold us a collection of action figures that had essentially everything that I had sold, and then everything that I hadn't bought, in that time, and it was now's the time to get back in.
Yeah.
I think that both of us were like,
it was
we were done with action figures. I think.
Yeah, it was I need to be the dealer, not the consumer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sampling my product too hard.
You never get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
And
so
drugs would be cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that got me back in and got me doing the custom action figures where, say they don't have a character that I want, I can go through and sculpt on it, paint it, make an entirely new figure that they won't ever make.
Right.
That kind of thing.
To be honest with you, that's getting fewer and further between now.
Well,
it seems like everybody's, eventually I'll get that, DC Universe Classics Aztec.
Aztec, yeah. But no, to go back to your question, since I love getting off topic, man, favorite figures, probably Mr. Miracle and Red Tornado out of the Superpowers lines.
Mm-hmm.
I never had them as kids, and I would always see pictures in like Wizard and Toy Fair and all that, and think, oh my God, if ever I got those,
right,
it would just be the end all be all. And I finally did. I bought a huge collection of comics, and those were the 2 figures that were at the bottom of just this box full of just completely torn up, tattered comics, and they were in pristine condition in these little plastic boxes. Like it looked like these were hidden away,
Right.
And yeah, it was. Oh my God, what are the chances that the two figures that I wanted out of all of that are right here?
Yeah.
So probably that. I know as soon as this is done, I'll do the. Oh, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Like I have an amazing Zatanna statue, and there's a really great Godzilla statue that I got.
I forgot about my Howard the Duck.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah. All right.
Ooh, I like that already.
I mean, if we're getting to some comic recommendations,
we were just going over the action figures, but yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
no. I was just saying, like,
Oh, do you
remind me
got
of
a-
Howard later. But I have Marvel Legends, like I was saying. They had
Oh,
this
yeah.
little pack-in Howard the Duck, and
yeah, he came with Silver Surfer of all
yeah,
people.
it was.
Weird.
Yeah.
So, whenever I was first learning about comics, I would read Howard the Duck and Silver Surfer. Like, when do they cross over?
Yeah.
But in the most recent
Yeah.
Howard series, they did finally have that crossover
Yeah.
that I,
Well, nice.
deserved.
Yeah. Yeah. Been waiting a long time for that. AD, I want to know, since you've been hanging around, and I say hanging around the shop, you don't just hang around, you do stuff here, but tell me what the craziest story you've had happen here at the shop. Or
So,
witnessed, at least.
So for me personally,
Yeah.
my first car wreck was out in front of the shop, actually.
Oh, wow.
It was right after Buck had bought the store. It was, God, I don't even know what year that would be.
2006.
But, yep.
How long had you been
2006.
driving at that point?
About a year.
A year?
I had this beautiful GMC Jimmy, and I loved it so much.
Oh, man.
And I was driving down the road, and it was getting a little sleety outside. Nothing too bad, though,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right. Had my high school girlfriend with me, and I was like, going to go to the comic book store, pick up my books real fast, then go back to Yukon. And, I'm just driving along. Everything's fine. And then I'm stopped to pull into the comic book store, and I just hear, and just feel the car, like, rock up. And it ends up in the median, like, in front of the
wow.
store. And I just turn around. This lady's freaking out at me. She's like, how could you do this? I just got my car back. And I'm shaking up. We're all fine. And then poor Buck, I walk into the store. I'm like, Buck, I just had a car wreck.
I was like, oh my God, are you okay?
Right.
Is everyone else okay? He says, yes and no. And he's just sitting there shaking. And as soon as he says that, the lady comes in, and she's just tearing into
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
She's just, yeah, and she rear-ended you, right?
Yeah, she rear-ended me.
Yeah.
Like, this was not my fault at all.
Right.
Yeah, so, she, how could you just be there? Why would you do this to my car?
Yeah, I just got it out of the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like she's the crappy driver.
So I said, hey, I think he's pretty shaken up. Let me help talk to you. So I sat him over to the other side of the store. I was like, just sit down. And let me see what I can do.
Pastor Buck.
Yeah.
So I said, ma'am, what happened? And she said, well, he caused an accident. I said, well, how? He slammed on his brakes in front of me. So you rear-ended him. Ma'am, in the state of Oklahoma,
Yeah.
I'm afraid you're at fault. Oh, so you're taking his side. Legally, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
no, and she was just, I was explaining what happened to the police and to my parents, and I was like, then I flew up into the meeting. She's like, you didn't fly up anywhere. It's like, my car's over there. It didn't
Yeah.
get there by itself.
Right.
She hit me so hard, she sent the drive shaft, like, up into the transmission.
Oh, my God.
And so it's just spitting gears and fluid,
wow.
and she's like, it's fine. You're fine.
Yeah, she was like, just drive off. Listen, how much to make this go away?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow. She didn't have any insurance.
Oh,
No, she didn't want it to go back up. She had just gotten it out of the shop
yeah,
from
true,
hitting somebody
true.
in a rear-end collision
Ugh.
earlier.
Yeah. And
Oh,
the-
my gosh.
Yeah, the cops that were on scene were just like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, what do I
That's
do with this
funny.
lady? Yeah.
Yeah, somebody fixed that Jimmy, though.
Oh,
Did I ever
did
tell
they?
you that?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. Somebody turned it into like a mudding vehicle, and it's got a whole new life now. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, and very soon before that, your mom had come in and was telling me, like, horror stories of your youth of, like, your friend running through the wall like Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
sorts of
yeah.
stuff. And as soon as the wreck happened, it was the, oh no, what's his mom going to say? Because his mom's super, super sweet lady, but it was just, I'm just so concerned for him right now.
That is hilarious.
Which it was probably just that day.
Yeah.
But, it was just one of those, oh no.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, because they say, you get in wrecks at like the places you're the most comfortable with, I guess, like close to your home, or stuff like that. So everybody's got to be careful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is like home to everybody.
Yeah, very much so. Some more literal than others.
But the good news is, if you come in, Buck will take your side.
Yeah.
He'll vouch for you.
I don't know. I have had a few instances where it's no, I'm afraid not, ma'am. We don't we don't accept that kind of behavior here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to call the police on a few people now and then, and there's some people that I've had to ask to leave. There was a guy that came in once that walked in and looked around. Said, "Is this a gas station?"
Yeah.
No, sir. It's across the street on the corner. He said, "Oh, I know what that one is." You sure this isn't a gas station?
You see any gas pumps?
No. Pretty much a comic book store. Got a couple action figures if you like.
You sure you don't sell cigarettes?
He said, what about DVDs? No, sir. Just comics.
That's funny.
All right, if you say so. And then he left. So.
If you say so, Buck.
Yeah.
My favorite is always the close to Christmas time when people come in and they're like, "Do you have the anime DVDs?"
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a customer that would come in. Let's just say 3 sheets to the wind. And he would just he meant well, and we knew him by name, and he's a good guy. He's finally got himself cleaned up, but he would come in, sit down, and pass out. So we started decorating him.
Oh.
And he'd wake up and what is all this? I said, oh, you're just feeling the spirit so much.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're just ready for Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, ready, raring to go.
Let me ask you this. I got a question about, you got tons of books.
Yeah.
Tons of comics. Is there anything that you would not sell? Like any titles that you've come across, like, I'm just not going to do it?
Oh, you mean content-wise or...
Yeah.
I mean, like, we don't sell pornographic material at all.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
right.
like that's the, like, oh, no. If it's that, then no. Like, we'll sell mature content stuff.
Right.
Like Preacher and Why the Last Man, that kind of stuff. But if it's pornographic, then no.
Right.
Well, that's... But it is, as far as, like, quality of story... There are things that I just choose not to carry because, I mean, anymore there are so many things published each month that you can't carry it all. And there's some things that I'll try a couple issues, and if I don't think that it's going to sell, then I don't bother.
Right. Hey, we got a little bit of comic book news before we came on the show, and it wasn't good news, but Steve Ditko.
Yep. Yeah, one of my all-time favorite comic artists, and people say that every time that someone passes. Oh, they were one of my favorites.
Yeah,
this honestly was one of my absolute all-time favorites. I have a very extensive Steve Ditko collection.
See, for me, it's Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. Those are the two. That's comic book art to me.
Right.
So,
well, he passed away at the age of 90. So I mean, he had a long life. Tell me about some of the biggest books that.
Well, he co-created Spider-Man.
Right.
I mean, I'd say that he created Spider-Man with Stan Lee's idea.
I was
going to
say some people argue the co-part, including myself.
I will argue anyone that's like, no, Stan created Spider-Man. No, Stan came up with the idea of, hey, there's a man named Spider-Man that crawls on the wall. Go make it.
Yep.
Right.
That's the extent of his involvement. Steve Ditko is on record of coming up with the web shooters. He's a teenage kid. He's a nerdy kid. Peter Parker. Here's the signal belt. Here's the
Flash Thompson, Mary Jane. Just like what Spider-Man is, in my opinion, is Steve. That's all comes from Steve Ditko.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's very interesting fellow. He was quite a bit of a recluse. Like he wouldn't do interviews. There's just a handful of pictures of him.
If you remember the Marvel bullpen stuff, they would call him Shy Steve Ditko.
Yeah.
Shy Steve, yeah. And it'd be like, well, let's pan over to this person. You'd like see a chair spinning around while he'd run out the door. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had some pretty firm beliefs on creators and the work that they do. Like, he felt that he was no different than like the guy at the restaurant that cooked your steak.
Right.
You know, like if you go to Applebee's and get a steak, he's the same as that guy. You know, even though there's way more to it than that, but you know, like that was his just initial, like, you know, you work and then you know, like that your work is the definition of everything you do, but you know, you shouldn't be famous for everything you do. You just, you know, you're just doing work.
Right.
Well, he's definitely the opposite of the coin to Stan Lee.
Yeah.
You know, Stan Lee's like, I'm Mr. Marvel, and don't get me wrong, I love Stan Lee.
Well, we'll get into Stan Lee. Like, Stan Lee is, you know, like one of the greatest cheerleaders of comics of all time. But Steve was definitely I'm just doing the work that I feel needs to be done.
Right.
These are the stories that I want to do. There's an excellent documentary that it's real hard to find, but you can track it down on YouTube.
It's actually on Amazon now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well then, I guess give them your.
Oh, sorry, it's on Amazon. Yeah.
But it's called In Search of Ditko.
Mm-hmm.
And it's phenomenal. It goes pretty deep into his backstory, and it shows kind of the cool side of him because not to spoil anything, but you know he poses the question, was it all worth it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Emphatically yes.
Well, I mean, think about how many people he touched as the creator of Spider-Man.
Well, not just Spider-Man. Ted Cord, Blue Beetle.
The Blue Beetle.
Right.
The Question.
Mm-hmm.
Speedball. A lot of people don't realize he created Speedball.
From New Warriors, yeah.
I guess just a lot of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Does it Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
And he created the look that everyone is familiar with Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, because Iron Man was this big, bulky gray suit, and then they colored it gold, and then they said, "All right, Steve, we need you to redesign Iron Man." And the classic Iron Man picture that you see, where he has like yellow sleeves and yellow pants, and the red tunic and mask, that's his design. It got morphed a little along the way, but that's essentially what he came up with.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, he is easily up there in the Mount Rushmore of comic creators.
Ooh, do we want to do that real fast? I've got one on tap.
If I do one, it's essentially, hey, what did you have for breakfast today?
I mean,
it's
okay.
this is
But
go ahead.
You can change mountains around all the time.
Yeah, it's comics.
I want to hear yours, AD.
All right,
Yeah, go ahead.
all right. Steve Ditko, obviously. Jack Kirby. Can Jack Kirby just be two? No. Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and then Jim Lee.
Huh.
Actually, no, Tom DeFalco.
Really?
No, Marv Wolfman. I need like 7 heads.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was going with just the 4 because I'd go your Steve Ditko, your Jack Kirby, your Will Eisner, and your George Perez.
You know, I realized I should have put Perez and Eisner on
I'm
there.
just saying. And
Go with Bucks.
Yeah. But again, that's just how I'm feeling today. You know, tomorrow it'll be like, oh, Fabian Niciens and Kurt Busiek. Like it'll be, here's your writers, here's your artist. You know.
So I actually have a question for you, Buck.
Oh, okay.
Just on the Steve Ditko topic, who do you think from this era of comics, or even the 90s, is going to be remembered when they're 90 years old as a comic book legend? Like, let's talk about the, just... Do you think Todd McFarlane's going to go down?
You know, I think that Todd McFarlane's going to go down not for being a great artist, but for being the character that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd say that Jim Lee would go down. I would put up a little bit of an argument on that, just because I think that people don't realize that as inker does quite a bit more than Scott Williams has done quite a bit. But that's an argument for in the shop. If you want to come suss that out with me, we can have fun with that. But
And definitely Rob Liefeld. Right?
let's not get started on that. I respect everyone that puts forth the time and effort that man has. And must be a very charming fellow. That being said, I would say that you'd be hard pressed to find an artist that would have the following that he did. But you also have to remember that when he was doing the art that he was doing, he was one of under 100 creators, whereas now we have thousands of comics coming out.
Oh yeah.
So, I would say the newest to the list, honestly, probably George Perez.
Really? Yeah.
Because I mean, then you have the stable of image creators, and I'm sure that I'm blanking on someone, but
I was going to say Mike Allred, but
I love Mike Allred, but and he's got the following. But then you also have like J. Scott Campbell that you could argue, but he's more of a cover artist now. But yeah. That's almost an entire podcast unto itself. Yeah, we've lost half the listeners now. They're like, "Fuck, just shut up."
Why is he talking about werewolves? Like...
Well, let me ask you guys this. I know Buck has seen Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah.
Have you got a chance to see it, AD?
Not yet.
I mean, as we're recording this, it's only been out a day, but But so in that regard, we won't spoil it. But I do want Buck. Tell everybody who's listening whether or not you like the movie.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to say this and not elaborate too much further in it. There's a character in there that his name is Jimmy Woo, and I've said before that it sometimes feels like Marvel says, "All right, Buck, who needs to be a character in the Marvel universe? Like, who do we need to, promote? What property do we need to foster?" I was like, "Oh, Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy." Another one is Agents of Atlas, and Jimmy Woo is the leader of the Agents of Atlas.
Right.
So for me to see him in there was oh my God, this is a possibility. This is potentially going to happen. He's not exactly the same character, but like I've said before, the Marvel movies kind of take characters that are, stereotypical, like here's your strong leading man, here's your dumb bruiser, here's your, sexy femme fatale, and they'll take those and twist them a little and give them more character. So it looks like they're probably doing some of that.
I just thought that after, like I said on the Nerdz II Men show, it's a fun movie, and after the deepness or the heavy heartedness of watching Infinity War and all that, Ant-Man and Wasp was just fun, and I thought I liked that kind of superhero movie too.
Yeah, and I'll say this: this is the first movie in quite some time that I've screamed at the screen. I won't say what I was screaming, but it was it got quite the reaction out of it.
I want to say this is terrifying for me right now because I don't want one of you to let something slip.
We're not. We won't. If Cameo was here,
oh my
who
God,
also does Nerdz II Men, he would have let something slip. But on this one, we won't.
Yeah, no, I'm choosing the words carefully.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, because you do a comic book podcast called Panel, I'd love to know, maybe, recently or just of all time, give me 3 books that you can't live without.
Just 3? All right.
Yeah. I know that's hard.
All right, so my first one is not a popular choice, but it's important to me because it's what got me into DC.
Worst one ever. No, sorry, go ahead.
Identity Crisis.
Ooh, that's controversial.
I know. It's got some upsetting subject material. Anyway.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah. And it was not popular at the time.
Right.
Oh, no, it was incredibly popular at the time.
It wasn't popular with a lot of people at the time.
There you go.
And it's not aged super well, but it's like the start of this era that leads into my favorite era of DC, I guess, Infinite Crisis era? Yeah. I don't know. It's that then leads into the other ones. If I can have all those books together, then that's one. Brubaker's run on Captain America, Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America, which was the Winter Soldier arc, was where that started. That's my favorite Captain America run.
Yeah. I mean, they made a movie out of it, so.
They did?
Yeah. Once
Crazy.
or twice. Yeah.
If you haven't read it and you're a Captain America fan, please do. It's,
okay.
It's just some of the best Captain America stuff.
And one more.
Oh.
You're going to the desert island after this show.
Yep. Do I get a whole series?
Sure.
Sure.
Honestly, the Eastman and Laird original Ninja Turtles run.
Awesome.
I maintain that the first issue of Ninja Turtles is almost a perfect comic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Self-contained story, solid beginning, middle, and end. Fantastic parody, but it takes itself just seriously enough. And
because they weren't 100% sure that was going to work.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, they didn't expect to get a second issue, and it's also what that story represents. Another good documentary is about the first 20 years of the Turtles. It's really good.
Yeah. It shows just what horsing around can sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
yeah,
it is that is the Cinderella story. Like, I don't know if Cinderella story it's
for starting off as like a parody and
look at what it's become.
Yeah,
from two guys just kind of screwing around.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So Buck, we're gonna ship you off right after the show. You got 3 you can grab from the shop.
All right. So I mean, if we get to choose entire series, Fantastic Four is coming with me.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's met me is like, oh yeah, Buck loves Fantastic Four. That's
which is the quintessential.
If I had to choose one issue 232.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the perfect one issue that kind of showcases their powers. It gives within just 2 or 3 panels, it gives exactly their personalities and their relationship with everyone and why they work as a team.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, honestly, Watchmen, which I know is like it's canned.
Love it.
It's one of those where I'll read it and reread it
Yeah.
and find something new each time that I do.
That would have been my number 4.
And then probably Planetary.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's second only to Watchmen, really, as far as comics go.
Let me do a 2A then on your second one. Tell me a little bit. I've been reading them, but have you been reading the Doomsday Clock?
I've been letting it pile up just because the way that I have to read all the comics, like there are certain titles that people are going to come in and ask me about.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are titles that will sell very well by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I read the first issue just to kind of know the premise and
sure.
If someone asks, hey, what's this about? I can tell them that.
Right.
But with a lot of it, I just kind of let that pile up, and I'll get to it when it becomes a larger chunk to where I can put it all in one setting.
I've been reading Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
I think I've read the first 3. I have the other 2 I still need to read. But what have you thought so far?
I like it so far. But if you're wanting another complete Watchmen story, I would say Darwin Cook's Before Watchmen, the Minutemen series, which I believe you can find at New World Comics and Games. But have you read it? Have you read Darwin Cook's Before
I have
Watchmen?
not. I'll have to watch it. I'll have to check that out.
I don't know. For me, Before Watchmen was a little hit and miss, but definitely that one is worth the read.
Yeah. It was the big cash grab by DC that was like, all right, let's crack into this thing.
But yeah, it's definitely it feels like it's in the Watchmen universe the most.
Yeah, certain creators definitely gave it their all, and then some were just like, oh, you'll give me that big of a paycheck? All right, let's do this.
Some of them had this is as good as Watchmen. Other had the Watchmen babies.
Yeah,
But,
well, let's taint that property.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
But I'd say Doomsday Clock is kind of in the middle of that road.
I'm enjoying
right
it
now.
Spoilers, though. I won't spoil it too bad for the people who haven't read those yet. But there's one scene where Rorschach is eating Batman's pancakes, and I love that part. I just loved it.
So how there are poets say there are perfect phrases, and they sound good to everyone. I think Rorschach eating Batman's pancakes is one of those phrases.
It sounds great. All right. I think that's pretty much a wrap for today, Buck.
Cool.
Thank you so much for letting us do this out here.
Yeah, man.
New World Comics Podcast. AD has his own podcast called Paneled. And tell everybody again where they can listen to that.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Paneled Podcast. And again, those will be going live on the 28th of July. So look for those. And you can find me at New World Comic Con at the Bates Branded Projects booth.
That goes down July 28th in the Centennial Building at the State Fair. The New World Comics podcast, you can get Spreaker, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We even had a request for Google Play, so I got it up there. Those are all the places that you can find my podcast, Nerdz II Men. So would appreciate you checking that one out too. And all the people that checked out the first one and they're checking this one out.
Yeah,
we thank you a lot.
Yeah.
So
we'll keep it going as long as people are liking it.
Right, we will for sure. And tell everybody when the next superhero school is.
There's one tomorrow, which is going to be after everyone gets to see it. But there's another one on the 21st, and then there's going to be one at the New World Comic Con, and then there will be one the week after.
Well, come on down to the store. It's just south of 63rd Street on Meridian here in Oklahoma City. 7 days a week. Yep. What are the usual hours?
Noon to 7 most days. Saturday we're 11 to 7, and Sunday 1 to 5.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with a brand new podcast, and we'll see you then.
Thanks.